Anytime your thoughts or feelings are criticized or amended. That's the one sentence of a violation of internal boundaries. Anytime your thoughts or feelings are criticized or amended, or you're doing that to someone else, then you're violating them or you're being violated. In other words, people make up their own reality and they are right. What I'm telling you is that there actually is no such thing as right or wrong. Now, we have agreed upon social mores and different things that we operate with as humans. But when someone is telling you something, that's what they believe. That's their truth, if they're telling the truth, right? And only they know if they really are or not. But there is no such thing as, oh, you're wrong about that. Now, I know that there are some factual things people can look up and be like, see, it says right here. Yeah, that happens. But that's actually a very small minority of things that people are actually engaging on when it comes to their thoughts and feelings. So they have a Republican ideal, and you have a Democratic ideal. Guess what? They're both right. They just don't agree with each other's realities. I'm really serious. There is no ultimate right and wrong when it comes to what you think and feel. That's your reality. Therefore, it's valid. Even if it seems crazy. Then maybe you're crazy. I don't know, but it's valid. So quit telling people what to think and feel because you don't agree. You simply say, I don't agree with that. That's not what I think and feel. That's different than saying, you're wrong and you're a frickin' idiot. Or how can you be so backward? Or how can you be this? Or how can you be that? That's what they think and feel, and you get to decide if it's true for you. But you do not have the right. You do not have the right to tell other people what they should think and feel. Even if at the core of your being you disagree and think that they are hateful and terrible. That's your reality. But what you can do is share your reality with that person. This is called a dialogue. It's called a dialogue. And if you're not as triggered by what people think and feel, you can talk about almost anything.
I absolutely love this clip simply for the fact that this is a situation that occurs in all relationships that is causing a problem, excessive toxicity. It's making people feel unheard, and it's just creating a really uncomfortable situation for a lot of people. Some key points from this clip that I want to reiterate are: if you criticize or amend something that another person thinks or feels, you are violating them inside emotionally. You are violating them. If they're doing that to you, they are violating you. And when you put that into perspective and truly realize how often that happens, then you realize what we're really up against. Because within every single conversation, whether it's romantic or friendships or family, we tend to rebuttal and reject and argue against the thoughts and feelings of those we say we love, support, and want to be a part of our life. And we don't realize how just that one action makes them feel like they're unheard, like they're not supported, and like they're viewed as if their thoughts are not relevant, aren't important, or even worth just absorbing the perspective to see if you can even accomplish some type of understanding as it relates to their perspective outside of yourself. We have gotten to a place to where we want all of the control or none at all. Now, when you're dealing with children and you're ignoring their thoughts or rejecting their thoughts and feelings, as they're growing up and going through their development, eventually they come to the conclusion that their thoughts and feelings don't have value. And you see that demonstrated in adults that do not offer opinion, even when you ask. They might come back to you and say, it doesn't matter, you were going to do what you wanted to do anyway. Those are the type of personalities that have gotten to a point to where they have severed their connection with their voice and or their thoughts because of situations such as these, where people feel like they are justified in arguing a person's thoughts, arguing a person's feelings, and making them feel like, for whatever reason, even when it's just disagreements, people have given themselves the right to tell you how to think and how to feel. If you tell someone you're depressed or you're anxious, they'll tell you, don't feel depressed. How could you feel depressed? Just stop being depressed. You see what I'm saying? And it's a very controlling way to have a conversation with another person that is telling you where they are or sharing their difficulty, sharing their perspective. And we have gotten real accustomed with minimizing people's experiences and thoughts, ignoring people's feelings and thoughts, and then thinking simultaneously it does not take a toll on that person. It does not affect if they want to talk to you or will turn to you for what they need. There is genuinely no point and no productivity surrounding arguing against another person's perspective. These perspectives come about through experience, environment, and teaching as it relates to that particular individual. So they're using their eyes, their ears, and their experiences, everything that's stored away in their memory, to assess how they see, feel, and hear in relation to a particular thing. And to argue against that says that you know exactly what they experienced, what they learned, what developed in their brain as a result of these experiences, and what they've been taught throughout the course of their life. So I think if you put it into perspective in that context, you can understand why it doesn't make sense to argue with it. Another point that was made in this clip is that your perspective is right. As much as we want to argue with the perspectives of others, this is a very key point because their perspective is right. You may not agree. You may not see where they get it from. You may not understand how they have come to these conclusions. But because they see it the way that they see it and they're saying that this is how they see it, they cannot be wrong in that, right? So why argue with it? What you want to do is have a conversation surrounding understanding. Tell me why you view it this way. How did you arrive at this conclusion so you can understand the perspective instead of trying to debunk the perspective. And that is where conversations should rest, in dialogue. Ultimately, when you converse with other people, you should be prepared to compare perspectives. Understand that the conversation is not about who is going to be right and who needs to prove who wrong, but about bringing two or more perspectives together to, in a sense, compare notes, to say that I didn't look at it that way. I hadn't considered those facts. I wasn't sure about that context, and then get clear about your stance on the topic as it relates to the perspectives that are presented to the conversation. It has nothing to do with people walking away saying, you're right, I'm wrong, you won, I lost. It's about joining of the minds and understanding that when you put your minds together, you can understand, oh, I get why you look at things the way you do, because in connection with your pathology, your upbringing, your teachings, your relationships with your parents, you start to understand people a little more thoroughly. I think sometimes we forget how important it is for us to experience diversity. It is the experiences of other people and perspectives that help us better appreciate where we are in our own lives. If we all led the same life with the same experiences, therefore coming to the same perspective, it will be hard to know where you need to adjust or where you need to measure yourself against your ultimate evolution, if you will. And when you see other people that have made other decisions, it helps you self-assess, to ask yourself, did I have opportunities to have these same successes or failures in my life? And when you don't have that diversity, it's hard to draw those conclusions. I think ultimately we want to control the thoughts and feelings of other people because we use their thoughts and feelings as a standard or a rule of thumb, some sort of measuring tool to assess ourselves as it relates to our successes and our failures. And when we have someone introduce themselves into our life that offers more insight and more perspective, unfortunately, we tend to couple that with it implying we've done something wrong, or there's been a misstep, or we're not as mature in our life, or it's an opportunity to see yourself. And sometimes experiencing other people and their minds being different, and the versatility and the intellect, we respond with feeling shrunken. So we try to correct these things within other people because it affects how we see ourselves. If we could only grasp the fact that a person having a different perspective or a different view in life is a representation of who they are and their intellect as it relates to their experiences and how they see the world, and it actually has nothing to do with, it has no connection with who we are as an individual. We are completely separate from them, and it's okay to disagree. We have come to a place where it's not okay to view things in a different light. We need to view things similarly, and we do not. It's the diversity that makes us beautiful, because you can offer more insight and perspective, and there's always going to be a person that approaches their walk of life differently, and that's a beautiful thing to hold dear, and we're trying to destroy that essentially. What would we do in a world where we were allowed to take away the thoughts and feelings of other people? Do you understand that's taking away passion, devotion, drive, mission, and purpose? How we think and how we feel ultimately defines who we are in its entirety, and it speaks to the core of us as individual beings. It defines our movements and our smiles and our frowns. And what would we be without those things to differentiate one person from another? I think that people's thoughts and feelings are things to respect, understand, and absorb, so you can get a clear picture as to how they look at the world, so you can understand how they maneuver throughout their life. Not an opportunity to criticize, rebuttal, or minimize the situation, but to learn and understand them. Our thoughts and feelings are essentially the gateway to our identity. It's how we express ourselves and how we define who we are and present them to other people. So meeting other people who reject that statement, that demonstration of self, essentially create an environment where you want to shrink yourself instead of blossom, instead of creating your best self and being confident in that shine, that display of your radiance. We don't realize it, but us having an opposite opinion or debate about self and what we think and what we feel tends to cause a phenomena that makes a person feel like they need to shrink to appease the people around them. That shrunken state is the shadow of your former self, and in many ways it can be less productive, less confident, more insecure, more doubtful, and more traumatized. These things don't create a being that can show up as their best self and be consistent in it when you're meeting so much resistance as it relates to your expression of self. Try to remember that when people present themselves to you, because you want to be affirmed and supported when you present yourself to them. We all essentially need the space to be able to blossom into who we desire to be, and we shouldn't feel intimidated by what we think and feel, because we should know it will be embraced and supported by others. Allow people to be who they are so you can be who you are. Peace.